Hi BookTube, Sarah here and welcome to my channel. Today I am coming to you with another weekly reads video. I really enjoyed doing this last week. I got a lot of great feedback on this. I think I am going to move the vlogs to special ones once a month, and I am super excited about doing these. So this is for week number 34, which is August 17th to August the 23rd. So I finished 6 books this week, which is not too shabby at all. I am of course going to share those books with you, give you a little review for each one, and then I'm going to talk about what I'm currently reading. And then I'm going to mention the plethora of NetGalley books that I have received over the last week. I think it was 18 new books on NetGalley, and not just NetGalley, but also directly from the publishers. So I want to, of course, share all of those with you as well. And yeah, I have no other new books, so I did not purchase any physical books this week. So getting 18 new NetGalley books in, or new EARCs in, I think is quite enough. I did not need any other books. So as usual, what I'm going to do is timestamp all of this in the description box below. So if you want to jump ahead to certain reviews, you absolutely can. And if you just want to jump ahead to see what I got from NetGalley or what I'm currently reading, whatever you want, please use the timestamps below for that. So as I said, first of all, I will get into what it is that I read this week. So the first book that I finished this week was Confessions of an Italian Marriage by Dani Collins. I gave this book 3 stars. This was a NetGalley read. It came out in August. It came out this month. So special thanks to Harlequin for sending me an EARC copy of this book to review for you guys. This is Harlequin Presents novel number 3844, and it was, of course, a contemporary romance. So what I've decided to start including in my little reviews here, and I used to do this years ago because I do a lot of different fun challenges. So I started marking off what books fit into what challenges. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. I know it's probably of no interest to most of you, but I just think it's kind of fun and I like keeping track of it for myself. So for this one, this was a book for summer fling. This was for the category romance prompt, of course, because it is a category romance novel. So this was the story of Frigga, I think is how you said her name, and Giovanni. So this one, like I said, I gave it 3 stars. I liked it, but I liked the writing, but I found the story to be very confusing, especially at the beginning. I literally felt like I was missing chapters. Like there should have been more explained to me as the reader. So pretty much the basic plot of this story is that these two met, and she had a father, he's passed away, who was a world traveler, and he got paid a lot of money for writing books about his travels. And Giovanni is a self-made billionaire, I guess, and he kind of has they met at a party. She knew who he was because he was the brother of some skier that she liked, but he didn't know her, and there was an age difference, like I think quite a big age difference between these two. So anyway, the whole premise of the story is that at some point he was presumed dead. Like after they had met, had a whirlwind courtship, and got married. And then he died, quote unquote, supposedly. So she's never believed that he actually died. So in order to flush him out, essentially, she is pretending to marry someone else. And then the story kind of goes from there. Like I said, especially at the beginning of the book, I just felt like I was really missing something. And this wasn't part of a series, not from what I could tell anyway. So I was a little disappointed in that, but outside of that, the story was good. It was entertaining. Once I got through the initial first 3 or 4 chapters and got into the story, it got a lot better. But because it had a very rocky start, I did have to drop the star rating, unfortunately. So yeah, if you like the Harlequin Presents novels, this is right up your alley, I'm sure. These are not generally any of my favorites, but I want to keep trying them to see whether or not I actually enjoy them. And our main character, Giovanni, is actually in a wheelchair due to an injury that happened prior to this supposed accident that took his life. So he is wheelchair bound. I think he's only missing, like he doesn't have the use of one of his legs. But I cannot absolutely remember. But still, like I said, it was entertaining. It was fun. It was a quick read. It's under 200 pages. So if you're interested to check it out, it's not a huge time investment. The next book that I finished was Amish Protector by Marta Perry. This one I gave 4 stars to. This was another NetGalley read. It was published in March of 2020. So thank you to Harlequin/HQN for sending me the EARC copy of this book to review. This is book number 2 in the River Haven series, and I did listen to this one on audio, and it was narrated by Stina Nielsen. This is an inspirational romance suspense book. So this was a romance, but there was also a really great suspenseful element to the book. So I actually got this for 3 different challenges. There is a group on Goodreads called the A Million More Pages group, and they do a lot of different challenges. And this is for the Places You Go bingo that's currently going on. And this was, the prompt was to read a book with a forest on the cover, and it had to be more than 5 trees. So in the background of this cover, there is a beautiful forest. For the Summer Fling, this one was for My Sweet and Clean Square. So yay, getting that one done. And for the August RRC Monthly Challenge, now usually I share this one at the end of the month when I do my wrap-up, but I decided to include it now. And the RRC, of course, is the Romance Readers Reading Group on Goodreads. They do a challenge every month, 10 different prompts. I've been doing it every month, and I love it. And this fit the prompt of Women's Equality Day, which was to read a book that was either by a woman, written by a woman, or had a woman on the cover, and this fits both of those prompts. So this was the story of Joanna and Noah, and this was really sweet. So Joanna and Noah are, of course, both Amish, and they live in this small town, I believe it was in Ohio, called River Haven. And the series focuses around Joanna and her 2 friends. So one of her friends had her story first, but it doesn't spoil anything for that story. Of course, you find out who the friend marries, but that's romance. That's typically the way romance goes. So you're not missing out on too much. In this one, Joanna lives in town, and her spinster aunt, who is also Amish, run the local quilt store. And Noah has a hardware store that's right next door. Noah's got quite the background, the past. His father was an alcoholic, even though they were Amish. But his father was an alcoholic, and he had a horrible upbringing. So he's always thought that, no, he doesn't want to get married because he doesn't want to end up like his father. And, become that kind of a person. So anyway, Joanna and her aunt are running this quilt shop, and one day she comes home from buying new fabrics to find this woman, because they live above the quilt shop, to find this woman beaten and laying in her doorway. So the woman ends up at the hospital. Circumstance starts to come out that Joanna might be related in some way to this woman, and the suspense aspect comes out, and I don't want to share any more with you because I went into this story completely blind. I really enjoyed it. It kept me guessing. I think I know I figured out the whodunit way earlier, but yeah, still highly entertaining, and I absolutely recommend this one. If you like Amish romance, you will really enjoy this book. Of course, it's sweet, it's clean, no adult content, no swearing, fantastic read. Next up, I finished The Kiss Quotient, I can never say that, by Helen Hoang. This book I gave 3.5 stars to, and I'm actually surprised I rated it that high because I was going to DNF this book. So this is book number 1 in the Kiss Quotient series, and I listened to it on audio. It is narrated by Carly Robbins. This is a contemporary romance novel. I did get 2 challenges for this one. So again, the A Million More Pages group is doing a Oh, the Places You've Been. It's a Dr. Seuss theme in the fall for some of the challenges that they're doing. So the challenge was to read a book set in each country of the world, or to read a book set in each of the different states in the US. And I thought that one would be a little bit of fun because most of the books that I read tend to take place in the US. So this one hit the state of California. And also for the RRC for the Quarterly Cookie Challenge, which happens, so they do a quarterly challenge, clearly 4 times a year. And they run from like the 15th of the month to the 14th of the next month. So this one actually ends on the 14th of September. And there'll be a new one posted on the 15th of September. And every quarter they have a different theme. This theme happens to be cookies. And for this one I got Fudge Striped, which I believe was to read a book that has some sort of a line, like a roadway or an exclamation point. But in this one I believe it's the symbol for division, like in the cover of the book. So I figured that counted for that. So as I said, I actually was going to DNF this. So for those of you, I think I'm the only one in the world who has not read this book yet. For those of you who have not read this book, you might want to skip ahead because I am going to do some spoilers in this one, because there were some things in this book that really made me angry. Now, I still gave it 3.5 stars. At the end of the day, I liked the book. I had no issue with the amount of adult content in this book. Yes, this book got very, very hot and spicy. Very hot and spicy. But there were other things that actually, that didn't bother me. That, you know, it is what it is. I read that all the time in books. But in this book, there were a few things that really irked me. So the first thing was near the beginning of the book when Stella is talking about, so sorry, for those of you who have not read this one and you don't care about spoilers, this is the story of Stella and Michael. And Stella has autism. And she is very shy around men. She's not very, she doesn't consider herself to be that great sexually. She doesn't know how to date. So she hires Michael, who's literally a male prostitute. He's listed as an escort in the book, but the man's a prostitute. Let's be real. You can fancy that up as ever you want. And I'm not knocking anyone like that. Like if that's, you know, it is what it is. But you know, let's be honest here. We'll say escort, just like they did in the book. So she hires him to pretty much teach her sex, essentially. And he, and then it becomes, and I heard it mentioned that this was like a gender swap of Pretty Woman. If I hadn't been told that, I wouldn't have been able to pick it out. But I did see it later on in the book because she then hires him to date her. And to like teach her how to be part of a couple. Although I'm pretty sure that's not what happened in Pretty Woman. It's been a number of years since I've watched that movie. It's one of my favorite movies though. And I think in that one, he just hires her to be his girlfriend. So I guess it's the same thing. She's hiring him to be her boyfriend, but in a teaching aspect. Whereas in Pretty Woman, it was just a sex aspect, I guess. Anyway, doesn't matter. So here were my issues with this book. The first one was, it talks about the fact that Stella had 3 experiences with men prior to meeting Michael. And, you know, that every time that she ended up having adult relations with these 3 different guys, like she would go on dates with these guys and then they would take her home or go back to his place or whatever. Because it came out when the first time that her and Michael were going to sleep together, that she kind of curled herself into a ball, not into a ball, but she went very stiff, like, and very like, don't touch me, and was crying. And then Michael asked her, he goes, is this what happened the last time that you were with these other guys? She's like, yes. That's called rape. Period. Full stop. Those other guys who were with her assaulted her, raped her. She clearly, if you are clenching up that bad and you are crying, that is not consensual in my opinion. And I really had an issue that wasn't addressed in the book. If it had been addressed, like Michael got mad, he's like, I'm going to beat these guys up, you know, very alpha male. That doesn't fix the problem. They need to be arrested for rape. Done. Sorry, that really irked me. As a victim of sexual assault, that really bothered me. The next thing that bothered me was the fact that, you know, I really like the representation in this, that Stella was autistic, but it was stated several times in the book that she does not like to be touched. And her parents, like, didn't even listen to this. Like, her mother would hug her, or, you know, I can understand strangers not knowing and not understanding. That's absolutely. But her parents, like, her mother would hug her, and in the book she's like, no, I don't want to. Really? And then the whole thing, in this one, I think I really need to drop my star rating on this one because I have some issues with this book, is that it seemed to me, now maybe I read into it wrong, but that her autism issues, because they're not issues, it's just who she is. It's her personality. It's part and parcel with her condition, but it makes her who she is, that those things could be quote unquote cured because of Michael and his amazingness as a boyfriend. No, don't think that's how that works. I'm pretty sure that's not how that works. You know, I know people who are autistic. I have talked to people. I've read other books with people who are autistic, and it's not something that can be fixed. Like, you know, yes, she now became comfortable around Michael, but clearly that took some work, and you know what I mean? Sorry. Okay. And the last thing that really got to me, and this was something that, again, it goes to show that people reading certain books at different times in their lives, like me reading this book now, as opposed to if I'd read this book a year ago, this last part maybe would not have bothered me as much. So Michael's mother was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. which is mentioned a couple times in the book that it's stage 4. Stage 4 is bad. When my father was diagnosed with cancer early in 2019, I read as much as I possibly could on the different stages and the different outcomes and the survival rates and all those things because I wanted to know. And stage 4 essentially is at that point palliative care. They are making you comfortable because after that it is now metastasized into your body, and you know, there's no cure from that. Once it's gotten to stage 4, you're just making the person's quality of life better and hopefully extending their life a little bit. But you can't cure it at that point, to my understanding from everything that I have read. So Michael's mother has stage 4. Sorry, this really bothered me outside of everything else. So Michael's mother having stage 4 cancer. There's a scene at the end of the book where she goes to a doctor's appointment. The doctor's like, oh, everything looks fantastic. And, you know, this looks a lot better and blah, blah, blah. And it just seems she walked out all hunky-dory. No. You know, I didn't want this character to die. I like this character quite a bit. I thought the mother was a hoot, and so was the grandmother. But I still don't think it was very realistic that all of a sudden she was going to walk out and, like, you know, not be okay, but that's the way it made it feel. Like it was being wrapped up in a neat little bow that she was now going to be okay. No. That the doctor didn't want to see her for 6 months with stage 4 lung cancer? No. And I finished the book and I finished that scene, and all I could think about was every time I have ever read a romance novel where the heroine can't get pregnant for whatever reason. She's tried for years and she can't get pregnant, and then all of a sudden she meets this new guy and bam, she gets pregnant. And I thought about every woman who has ever struggled with infertility and how they read that and think that's not the way it works. That's not how these things go. And as someone who has lost someone to cancer very recently, that's not how these things go. And it did upset me quite a bit. Now, all that being said, in my whole rant here about this book, I do want to go on and read book 2. Because I've heard from a lot of people that the Bride Test is a lot better. But I struggled through this one, guys. Like I said, I was going to DNF it. In the end, I'm glad I didn't, because I liked the writing and I really liked Stella. I really liked her as a character. Michael, not so much. I just did not like him at all. I think that she could have done far better than Michael, and not because of his vocation. He was actually a tailor. That, like, you know, but he was doing this on the side to make money to cover his mother's medical expenses, which, you know, I guess as a Canadian, I found it hard to believe as well, because, not hard to believe. I understand, and I would not. There are a few reasons why I don't live in the United States. The biggie is the fact that you guys do not have universal health care, because all of my procedures, and I think about Dad's cancer treatments, would have never been able to afford them, ever. So I empathize with Michael on that behalf, that, you know, he was doing this to help his mother, which I think is fantastic, but there are other ways to make money. He could have just been an escort. He could have just been an escort and not actually had sex with these women. Nothing wrong with that. Some women pay big money for just that, you know? So anyway, I've gone off on a rant on this for far too long, and I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to those of you who love this book. But as I said, it's different people read a book and take different things from it. And that's part of what I love about reading, and what I love about reading different books and things like that. Like, I took this from this book, whereas somebody else probably thought this book was amazing. So, you know, it is what it is. Let's get on to the next book that I finished. So the next one that I finished was, hold on, did I write everything down? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's on the next page. Oh, look at that. So the next book that I finished was Message in the Hollow Oak by Carolyn Keene. I gave this one 3.5 stars. This was Nancy Drew mystery story number 12. It's, of course, a YA mystery, and this one fit no challenges. So I have been reading through my Back to My Childhood books. I read a Babysitter's Club book earlier this month. I've read this Nancy Drew now, and I'm actually starting the last Nancy Drew, the one from the series in the 80s. Not the last in that series, but the last one for this month. So in this one, I get such a kick out of these. I read these in the morning when I'm eating my breakfast, and my mom's often in the kitchen, and, you know, we're kind of chatting as I'm reading. And every single time Nancy and her friends go to do something, they have to have a meal first. And I just laugh. I holler out to Mom, they're having lunch. Oh, so-and-so's been kidnapped, but wait, first they need to stop and have breakfast before they go and hunt him out. So in this one, Nancy's been hired, essentially, to find this message in this hollow oak that was put there by this, sounds like a Jesuit priest or something, who was in, not Ohio, was it in Illinois, 300 years ago, trying to convert the Native Americans to Christianity. We're not going to get into that whole kettle of fish. This book was written in 1935. So keep that in mind. But he left some treasure, so now Nancy and her friends are looking for this treasure, and that's pretty much the plot of the book. It was okay. There was a lot of racial things in this book, even though I believe this is one of the ones that had been rewritten. I know there were a chunk of them from the beginning of the series that were originally written in the 30s that were rewritten to take out a lot of the stereotypes, a lot of the racism. But this one dealt with, of course, a lot of Native American things, and there were a few things that kind of made me cringe a little bit while reading it, to be honest. But overall, not a bad story. Nancy Drew, you take it for what it is. I read it. It was fine. I'm going to continue on to the next book in that series. And then the next one that I read, I think after having like that bad experience, I had that kind of bad reading experience with The Kiss Quotient, that I needed something fun, and I actually took a day off of like reading. So then I came back and I started and finished this book in a single day, and that was Drive Me Crazy by Samantha Chase. I gave this one 4.5 stars. It is the first book in the Road Trippin' series. It was narrated on audio by C.J. Bloom, and this was a contemporary romance novel. So for this one, for the Places You Go Bingo, this fit for read a book in which the characters go to a beach. In the book, they do go to the beach. For the Oh, the Places You've Been, for the bingo, not the bingo, but for reading all the different states. I fit this one in for Nevada. Even though this was a road trip story and kind of covers a lot of different states, Nevada, there was a good chunk of the action that takes place in Nevada, so that's why I counted it. And of course, for the summer fling, this fit for the road trip prompt. Yay! So, anyway, this story was delightful. It's only about 6 hours long on audio. I think it's like a 230-page book. Perfect length. If you are looking for something totally fun to read, this one you cannot go wrong. So, the premise of this story is about a woman by the name of, did I write it down? Darn, I didn't write it down. Is it Grace? Grace and Finn. Grace and Finn. Sorry, those were our two main characters. So Grace, literally at the very beginning of the book, finds out that her fiance is a-hole because he has been sleeping with his secretary, and he's only marrying Grace to get up in the company. And then in 6 months, he's going to divorce her and marry his pregnant assistant that he got pregnant. So she finds this out right before they're going to get married. So she leaves, runaway bride, grabs her bag, in her dress, away she goes. And then it flips to Finn, who is in Carson City, Nevada. She's in Lake Tahoe area. And I guess they're close together. I don't know. So anyway, is it Nevada? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know that area of the U.S. And anyway, he is in the casino with his brother, and they were having dinner, and his brother's like, oh, dude, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And off the brother goes, and Finn waits and waits and waits and waits, and his brother never comes back. So he goes and he looks for him. Brother stole his car. So both now Grace and Finn arrive together at the same time to this car rental place. And if you have read Dashing Through the Snow by Debbie Macomber, this is very much the same plot line to this point. So the two of them are both trying to rent a car. There's only one car available. So the two of them decide to carpool, essentially, from like Carson City, Nevada area, all the way across country to Atlanta, Georgia. She's in South Carolina. He's in Atlanta, Georgia. So then begins the story of their road trip. And this was delightful. It's exactly what I needed. And I think that's why it got a higher star rating. If I'd read this at any other time, it might have just gotten a 4-star because it was good, but it wasn't, oh my God, amazing. And, but it was such a nice, refreshing palate cleanse for me after my dislike of the last book. So I just loved this. Now, this book does have some spots where it gets a little hot and spicy, but the majority of it is just the beginning stages of it. And then it goes to behind closed doors, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, it was a really enjoyable book. Grace did get on my nerves just a little bit, but I loved all the different spots that they stopped at, and I thought their relationship was adorable, and I love this. Again, it's a 6-hour audiobook, a 230-page ebook. Pick it up, you will love it, I assure you. And the last book that I finished this week was Best Friend to Princess Bride by Katrina Cudmore. This one was another NetGalley read, and it came out in March of 2020. And thank you again to Harlequin for sending me an e-art copy of this book to review. So this was Harlequin Romance number 4705. It is, of course, a contemporary romance novel, and this wasn't for any challenges. So this one was cute. It was Kara and Edwin's story. Now, Kara, K-A-R-A, and Edwin have been friends for many, many years. Pardon me. Edwin and Michael, who was Kara's brother, roomed together at Oxford. So this book does take place primarily in the UK, but also in a small, fake European country. So they were good friends at Oxford, and of course, because of that, Kara became friends with Edwin as well. He is the crown prince of this small European country. And Michael had passed away a number of years before. And Edwin did promise, that he would kind of take care of Michael's sister and make sure to look after her and that she was going to be okay. Well, then skip ahead to now, and Michael's father, who's of course the king, is abdicating the throne for whatever reason, and Michael must marry. So he picks her as his bride, and the two of them end up getting married, and the story kind of goes from there. I enjoyed this one. What did I say that I gave it? Was it 3.5 stars? I think so. I just finished it this morning. Yes, I finished 3.5 stars, and I enjoyed it. It was really entertaining, really fun. I just felt that it was kind of that story that we've read a bunch of times in romance, a marriage of convenience kind of an aspect. And, I liked it. What I really liked about the story, though, is to share the positive points, of course, is that, and not that this was a positive point, but Michael, Kara's brother, actually died of suicide. And because of what he did, she now starts and runs this huge foundation to help young people who have depression and suicidal thoughts, who are like in that transition phase. So they're not exactly teenagers anymore. They're not exactly adults, so they're like college age kids who are like struggling to fit in after leaving high school or moving out of the house for the first time. Kind of a very specific group of kids. And I think it's wonderful because that's what happened to her brother. It's while he was at school. And he kept saying, I'm doing great, I'm having a great time. And then this happens. So that aspect of it was really, really heart-wrenching and very well done. And I really liked that the author working that into the story, and really appreciated it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And for that reason, for Kara's work with this agency, it totally worth reading this book. I like the family. Edwin's aunt, I think she's like a spinster aunt. She was a lot of fun. And yeah, the small country was a lot of fun too. And I enjoyed the story. Don't get me wrong. I mean, 3.5 stars is better than an average rating from me. It's just not one that if you asked me a year from now, if you showed me this book cover, I'd say, yes, I read that. But I wouldn't absolutely be able to give you all the details. Do you know what I mean? So it was an enjoyable story, not a completely memorable story. But anyway, those are all the books that I read this week. So yes, a lot. I have a feeling this video is going to be a little bit longer than normal. I had to stop it twice because my mother kept calling me. She's at Walmart. She was asking me a question. But yeah, so it might be a little bit longer than normal, but that's okay. For some reason, when a book is disliked, I can talk about it more than when I love a book. Does that make sense? So currently reading. What am I currently reading? I have not started any of these books yet because as I'm filming this, it is Sunday afternoon. But that is my goal for the afternoon. I will be starting Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, the first book in the Brown sisters. I think it's a trilogy. I am really, really, really looking forward to this one. I've heard mixed things, but I'm super excited about this one, and I will, of course, let you guys know my thoughts next week. I'm also going to be starting in Incognito X by Geri Krotow, which is a Harlequin romantic suspense novel, another one I have from NetGalley. Very much looking forward to this one. And the last one, so what happened was I was putting my TBR for September together, and I was adding some books on Scribed as saved. Well, for those of you who use Scribed, you know that if you add too many books to saved, it'll push some of them to your next billing cycle. So, you know, you can, in my case, my billing cycle is the 2nd of the month. So it's saying that for a bunch of books, I can't read them until September 2nd, which was fine. I figured these are September books anyway. I'm not going to get to them until then anyway. And this book I had saved to read this month. They pushed this one till I can't read it until September 2nd. So I'm like, bogger. I was not happy. So I have a physical copy of it, and I'm just going to read it in physical edition. I've got the tabs marked off here. I figure, you know, it's only 300 and some odd pages. It's like 10 pages a day or something like that. No, more than that, like 30 or 40 pages a day. I can absolutely do that. So that is my plan. And this is from Duke Till Dawn by Eva Lee. So I am reading another physical book this month. I think this is only my 2nd physical book. I do have a hard time reading physical books. Not that I have a hard time reading them, but I just tend to not pick them up as much as I pick up an ebook or an audiobook. So yeah, but the cover is absolutely gorgeous on this one. So I am looking forward to getting this one done. My goal is to finish it before the end of the month because I do need this one for the summer fling. This is for my Dark and Dangerous prompt. So the next thing, excuse me guys. Yes, I'm still sipping on my coffee from this morning, is the new From Netgalley. So like I said, I got 18 new books. So I'm going to go through these relatively quickly. I'm going to give you, of course, the title and author, the release date, and the publisher. So as a thank you, of course, to the publishers for sending me these. So a lot of Harlequin. Harlequin has been so good to me over the last week or so, and it's just what I've been needing. So first up, this is in no particular, the order that these are in are the order that I receive them, because if I receive a new one, then I add it to my list. So I'm not scrambling when I sit down to do these videos to put all this information together. So first of all, The Pearl by Tiffany Reisz. I'm so excited about this one. This is an erotic one, I think, which is not my norm, but I do love her writing, so I had to get it, or I had to request it. This comes out December 1st, and it is from 8th Circle Press. Then we have A Mistletoe Vow for Lord Lovell by Joanna Johnson. This comes out September 29th. Thank you to Harlequin. We have The Line of Duty by Nichole Severn, also coming out September 29th. And again, thank you to Harlequin for this one. After Hours Redemption by Karina Alexander. This one comes out October 13th, another one from Harlequin. And I've been noticing as I'm looking at these new Harlequin ones being released, I'm noticing a lot of authors that I'm not familiar with. So I'm super excited about reading new authors' work. I love reading some of my old favorites like Nicole Helm and Tara Taylor Quinn and stuff like that. But to see new authors is always also exciting. A Will, a Wish, and a Wedding by Kate Hardy, which was actually on my September Harlequin Anticipated Reads. And it's funny because the day that video went up was the day that I was approved for this book. So that's pretty exciting. And this one comes out September 8th. Again, Harlequin. Christmas Reunion in Paris by Liz Fielding. Comes out October 13th. Again, thank you to Harlequin. A Palm Beach Scandal by Suzanne Marren, excuse me. This comes out September 15th from St. Martin's Press, so thank you to St. Martin's Press. Now, I read the first book, which I think was called The Palm Beach Wife, and I think it was one of the first books I ever read on NetGalley, and I didn't love it. So the publisher contacted me about this one, and I think it's the second in this series, and I thought, you know what, let's give this author another shot, and see what I think about this one. I found the first one, not that it was bad, or it did have some unlikable characters, but it was very reminiscent of Sex and the City to me, that ladies who lunch kind of vibe to it. So I'm interested in getting into this one, but of course I'll let you guys know my thoughts on it when I get to it. We have Agents Mountain Rescue by Jennifer D. Bokal. This comes out on November the 10th. Again, thank you, Harlequin. The Cowboy's Targeted Bride by Carla Cassidy. I do love Carla Cassidy. Also coming out November 10th. Also, thank you to Harlequin. And the Colton's Christmas Conspiracy by Lisa Childs. Also, November 10th. Also, thank you, Harlequin. And In Hot Pursuit by Geri Krotow. Also November 10th. Also, thank you, Harlequin. I'm pretty sure that those are all those four are all the romantic suspense that are coming out in November from Harlequin. So that's super exciting. Also, Save the Last Dance by Shelly, Shepard, Gray. This comes out November 17th from Blackstone Publishing. I have read the first two in this series, I think, and I really liked it. It centers around a dance studio. We have Mountain Mistletoe Christmas by Patricia Johns. Comes out October 6th. Thank you to Harlequin. The Merriest Magnolia by Michelle Major. This comes out October 13th. Thank you to Harlequin. This is the second in the Magnolia Sisters series. I read the first one and I really, really liked it, so I'm really looking forward to this one. Take It Back by Kira Abdullah. This comes out December 8th from St. Martin's Press. So the publisher contacted me directly about this one, and it looks like it's a thriller. Yes, please. I love my romance, but I do love a good thriller. So this one sounds really good. This one, I was so excited when I got approved for this one. I think I found it Saturday morning, and I immediately messaged my friends Chloe and Bree, and I'm like, guess what book I got? And the two of them were like, we got it too. So the three of us are actually going to buddy read this in September. So that's very exciting. And that is One More Christmas by Sarah Morgan, the new Sarah Morgan Christmas book. I know a lot of people say Debbie Maycomer is Christmas. They love reading Debbie Maycomer at Christmas, and I do too. But for me, over the last 3 years, it's been Sarah Morgan. So 3 years ago, it was the Christmas Sisters. Or no, 2 years ago, it was the Christmas Sisters. And then last year was A Wedding in December. And now we've got this one. So I just hope she keeps releasing books every Christmas so I can read and enjoy them because I love them. So that one, like I said, comes out October 6th. And again, thank you to Harlequin. We have Close Range Christmas by the great Nichole Helm. I love her work. Comes out October 27th from Harlequin. And last but not least, Then There Was You by Mona Schaff. I think is how you say her last name. I had to hunt for this picture. So I found this on Amazon. I do not know if this is going to be the final cover, but this is what we're showing as a cover on Amazon. This comes out January 26th, 2021. So this is quite a ways away. Published by Harlequin. And from what it sounds like, he is a EMT and she works as a bartender, and they meet. Somehow he gets called to her bar and it goes from there. And it sounds really good. And that cover is gorgeous. When I requested it, I didn't see what the cover looked like. And usually I'm very much a cover buy or cover request kind of person. But I'm so glad because this one sounds so, so good. And thank you again for approving me for this one. So yeah, that's all I have, guys. Again, I have no idea how long this video is because I've had to stop it a couple times. And I'm sorry if it's long, but that's why I did all the timestamps. So let me know in the comments below if you've read any of the books that I talked about. What did you think of the Kiss Quotient? And why can't I say that word? And yeah, until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.